Hello, welcome to another edition of my video blog. Today what I'm going to talk about is how taking care of pets can serve as a good model for taking care of yourself. But first, a little story. So we had a chinchilla. We had this little guy for 12 years. His name was Indigo, but we called him Indy. And, he was a pet for my boys when they were little. And, sort of the thinking was that as they grew up, then, he would have his lifespan. And so I'll be honest, the past few years of his life, every time I cleaned his cage, I would sort of always be calculating how old is he and how much longer is he going to live. And then he passed away, and I was surprised at how much I really missed the little guy. And my husband is not such a pet guy. Even he really missed the little guy. So where Indy lived was in an upstairs room. It was a small room that you had to walk through to get to my son's, a little bit larger bedroom. It was also the room where he kept the iron. So whenever you were in that room, here was this little bundle of joy, would, come flying out to the front of his cage to greet you. And taking care of him was always the last thing I did at night. It was just sort of a peaceful way to end my day. So once he passed on, I really was kind of thinking about what kind of pet to get. I didn't want to get another chinchilla because they can be like a 10 to 15 year commitment, and that seemed a little bit long to me at this point in my life. So I thought, should I go back to goldfish? Should I look into other kind of mammals? Well, in any case, I decide one day to just clean out the cage. My intention was to just put it at the curb. We live on a fairly busy street, so if I put something out on the curb, it doesn't last long before somebody comes and takes it. But as I'm cleaning out the cage, it occurs to me that maybe there's a rescue organization who would like the cage. It's a really nice cage. So I take a break from cleaning. I go downstairs to my iPad and I look up, and sure enough, there's a local chinchilla rescue. So I email them to see if they want my cage. But while I'm on the page, of course, let me take a look at the pictures of the chinchillas. And I see that the ones they have for adoption, and I notice that they had some older chinchillas. So back up I go, continuing to clean, getting a big garbage bag, putting all the supplies into the garbage bag. But my mind is starting to go, and I'm thinking, now an older chinchilla, that's an idea. It's not a 10 to 15 year commitment. I'd be doing a nice thing, rescuing a chinchilla. So back down I go to the iPad, check again. Unfortunately, all the older chinchillas came in pairs. All right, back upstairs I go, continuing to clean. And again, at this point, I'm almost done. Everything's in the black bag. I'm tying it up. And I'm thinking about this pair of 10-year-old girl chinchillas, and I'm thinking, well, that's kind of nice. Instead of just replacing Indy with another single boy, I would have two, and they would be girls. It would be different, a whole different experience. All right, black garbage bag comes down. Everything's all cleaned up. Out it goes to the curb. I decide, let me go check that site one more time. I look up the pair of 10-year-old females, and sure enough, their names are Claire and Catherine. Now, my mother's name is Claire, and my mother-in-law's name is Catherine. Oh, at this point, it just seemed like it was meant to be. It was fate. So sure enough, I asked the other members of my family, who all tell me, well, you're a little crazy, Mom, but if you don't mind doing the work, go for it. And now we have Claire and Catherine living in that little room, bringing those two little sparks of life to that room whenever we're in it. And again, I have a nice way to end my day. So that's my cute little story about how sometimes maybe the universe has other ideas for us than the ideas we have for ourselves. But let me bring this back to health. So when you own a pet, it's all about creating the right habitat. If you want your pet to be healthy and to live long and to not cost you a lot of money in vet bills, you want to pay attention to their habitat. So having two chinchillas as opposed to one required some tweaks to the habitat. The other thing is that 12 years ago when I got my little Indy, there was no Facebook group for how to take care of chinchillas, so I just sort of learned what I learned from the web and did my best. Well, now, of course, there are Facebook groups, and there are people who really know how to take good care of chinchillas to, again, keep them healthy, help them to live long. I always thought chinchillas lived 10 to 15 years. On this group, people are reporting that their chins are living up to 20 years, maybe even 25 years. So what is it that an animal needs, a pet needs to stay healthy? Well, you have to make sure you give it the right food, that it is not stressed, that it has things to occupy its mind, and that it gets exercise. That's the habitat. And each kind of pet has its own unique habitat, its own unique kind of food, its own unique kind of mental stimulation. So that brings us to human beings. So here we are, the smartest people on the planet, and right now we live in habitats that are terrible for our health. Too much stress, not enough exercise, and although there's plenty of food around, it's not the foods that our bodies were designed to be eating. So what I want you to think about is your own habitat, your personal habitat. Are you attending to those things? It's not that hard to be healthy. It is hard because we live in a bad habitat, but the rules are pretty simple. Eat real food, move your body, and make sure that you spend some time taking care of your soul. Now, there are people in our society, even though we are surrounded by all this plentiful food that is really the wrong foods for our bodies, there are people who create a habitat for themselves that's healthy. And this is a growing number of people who recognize the connection between food and health, who make sure that exercise becomes a regular fun part of their daily routine, and who spend the time to slow down and connect with something deeper. Spend some time taking care of their souls rather than just frantically running around from chore to chore to chore and from screen to screen to screen. So if you are one of those people, good for you and keep it up. If you are not yet one of those people, I strongly recommend that you spend some time thinking about how to create your habitat so that you will thrive. So that just like my chinchillas, you will be happy, you will be healthy, you will not cost money in terms of copays and medical bills, and you'll live a long and healthy life. If you can't figure out how to do that on your own, then I strongly recommend that you consult with a health coach. So whether you work with me or you work with someone else, a health coach provides you with two things: support, helping you to figure out what is the right habitat for you, what foods are right for your unique body. A health coach also provides accountability. It's so easy to get caught up in old habits, and old habits sometimes mean not good habitats. Whereas a health coach is going to show you how to create your habitat in a way that is easy, it's fun, it's sustainable, it's not something that you have to pay attention to, it just becomes something that you do. So that again, you fall into that segment of the population who has figured it out, who knows how to have a healthy habitat in a world that's not so healthy. So again, whether you choose to work with me or work with someone else, think strongly about creating that habitat, getting help if you can't do it on your own. I want everyone listening to this or watching this to be as healthy and happy as my sweet little chinchillas that are now upstairs in my house. All right? Be well, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye for now.